A person is never simply themselves. At any given moment, beneath what feels like a clear, logical decision, there are hidden characters quietly negotiating the outcome, deciding what they will tolerate in a relationship, which career they chase, how they respond to fear. Most people believe they are the ones choosing. Carl Jung understood that very often they are not. An older, deeper pattern has taken the wheel, and the person mistakes its driving for their own free will. Jung called these patterns archetypes, universal characters that live in the human psyche, roles the mind slips into automatically, long before conscious thought arrives. Not personality labels like introvert or extrovert, but something far deeper. Recurring figures that show up in every myth, every film, every culture, and inside every person. And Jung observed that when one of these archetypes grows too strong, it stops being a part someone plays and becomes the identity that runs their entire life on autopilot. Over the next several minutes, we're going to trace the 4 archetypes that most quietly rule people's daily lives: the ruler, the creator, the caregiver, and the rebel. And as each one is described, something specific will happen. One of them will feel uncomfortably like a description of you. That recognition is the point, because Jung believed the moment a person can see which archetype is driving is the moment they can finally take the wheel back. Stay until the end, because the goal is not to discover which one you are. It's to learn how to choose which one drives next. Let's begin with the one that takes over the instant life starts to feel like chaos. The ruler. The ruler is the inner sovereign, the part of a person that craves structure, order, clarity, and results. When it is healthy, it is extraordinary. It leads, it sets boundaries, it builds systems and protects what matters. But Jung understood that any archetype left unconscious curdles into its shadow. And the ruler's shadow is control, rigidity, and the quiet tyranny of my way or no way. There are signs a person is being run by the ruler. They feel calmer the moment there is a plan, even a bad one, because the plan itself soothes something in them. They feel a sharp irritation at people who are vague, late, or uncommitted. They are the one who organizes everything and then quietly resents everyone for not helping. They would rather be respected than liked. And under stress, they tighten. They micromanage, whether it is themselves or everyone around them. Because to the ruler, chaos does not feel merely unpleasant. It feels unsafe. In relationships, the ruler tries to fix emotional messiness through management. Rules, logic, ultimatums, sometimes silent punishment. Not out of coldness, but because another person's chaos threatens the order the ruler needs to feel secure. In work, this archetype thrives wherever decisions and responsibility live. Leadership, strategy, building something. But its shadow closes in when the person becomes so identified with being the competent one that they cannot rest, cannot delegate, and cannot admit they are struggling. The ruler was meant to give a life its spine. When it takes over completely, it becomes a cage of the person's own making. Now, before the others, this is the moment to notice which one is already pulling at you. Keep it in mind, because at the end you'll be asked to name it. If the ruler is the one that felt familiar, hold on to that, because the second archetype makes a person feel the most alive and the most tormented. The creator. The creator is not simply the artistic type. It is the part of a person that aches to bring something into existence that did not exist before. A business, a song, a new identity, a whole better life. The creator is obsessed with possibility. In its healthy form, it is originality, play, experimentation, and craft. But its shadow is one of the most common prisons Jung's ideas describe. Perfectionism, procrastination, the imposter's dread, the endless starting and never finishing. The signs are unmistakable once named. The person gets bursts of vivid inspiration, then crashes the moment it is time to actually execute. They are allergic to boring routine, yet they secretly crave consistency they cannot maintain. They rewrite a simple message 6 times so it will sound right. They compare their own unfinished, behind-the-scenes reality to everyone else's polished highlight reel, and lose every time. They would rather be authentic than accepted. And often they insist they are not even creative, while redesigning their entire life in their head at 2 in the morning. That too is the creator, just trapped inside imagination, never allowed to touch the world. In relationships, the creator craves depth, novelty, and growth, and sometimes mistakes ordinary boredom for proof that something is wrong. In work, it sabotages through waiting for the perfect idea, the perfect timing, the perfect mood that never arrives. And here is the truth the creator most needs and most resists. Confidence is not found before the work. It is built by finishing the work, imperfectly, again and again. When a creator stays stuck, it is rarely laziness. It is the archetype protecting the person from judgment by keeping everything unfinished, and therefore safe, and therefore dead. Which brings us to the third, the one that runs more lives than any other, while remaining almost invisible. The caregiver. The caregiver is the part of a person that feels most valuable when it is needed. It is empathy, loyalty, protection, and healing. Love translated into action. At its best, it is one of the most beautiful forces a human being carries. But Jung was clear that an archetype does not have to look dark to possess someone, and the caregiver's shadow is a quiet self-erasure, the slow slide into martyrdom, burnout, and a resentment the person is ashamed to admit they feel. The signs live in the background of a life. This is the one everyone calls when they are falling apart, the therapist friend, the emotional glue of the family. They feel guilty resting. They take responsibility for other people's moods as though those moods were their fault. They say I'm fine when they are not, because their own needs feel like an inconvenience they should spare everyone. And they are strangely drawn, again and again, to people who need saving. In relationships, the caregiver stays too long because they can see the other person's potential so clearly that they will sacrifice years waiting for it to arrive. At work, they overfunction so no one else has to struggle, and quietly disappear inside the role. Jung's warning here is precise. When a person is unconsciously possessed by an archetype, it stops being something they do and becomes who they are. And so they stop being a person who sometimes helps and become the helper, with no self left underneath the helping. The caregiver's energy is sacred, but it was never meant to be a life sentence. The most healing thing this archetype can learn is a single, quiet truth: that a person can care without carrying, and that a boundary does not require anger to be valid. And now the fourth, the one that gets people into trouble and also sets them free. The rebel. The rebel is the part of a person that says no. It is the internal alarm that goes off in the presence of something fake, oppressive, hypocritical, or slowly killing the soul. The rebel breaks rules, not merely to be difficult, but to restore truth. In its healthy form, it is courage, innovation, self-respect, and liberation. It is the archetype that changes a life, because it is the only one willing to break an old identity that no longer fits. But its shadow is real and expensive. Impulsiveness, cynicism, burning bridges, self-sabotage, the reflex to reject others before they can do the rejecting. The signs are loud. The person hates being told what to do, even when the advice is good. They would rather fail on their own terms than succeed on someone else's. They come alive when proving people wrong. They are allergic to inauthenticity in any form. And when they feel trapped, they do not adjust. They detonate. Jobs, relationships, routines, blown up in a single decisive moment. The rebel is the archetype of freedom. But without direction, it does not create freedom at all. It only creates reaction. A person who mistakes destruction for liberation and ends up standing in the rubble of things they never replaced. Because the rebel's real power is not chaos. It is sovereignty, but only when it is aimed. The rebel who learns to define what they are fighting for, and not only what they are against, becomes unstoppable. The one who never learns it simply burns their own future over and over and calls it being free. Now the recognition comes together. Because Jung understood something that reframes all four. A person does not have one personality. They have a psyche made of parts. And when a single archetype grows too strong, it takes the wheel and drives the life on autopilot in a direction the person never consciously chose. The ruler gives order but can strangle joy. The creator gives meaning but can trap a person in perfection. The caregiver gives love but can erase the self. The rebel gives freedom but can burn the future when it is aimless. The goal was never to pick one and become it forever. The goal is to notice who is driving, and then to consciously choose who should drive next, based on what the moment actually needs. When a person needs to build, they can call the ruler forward. When they need to imagine, the creator. When they need to heal, the caregiver. When they need to break free, the rebel. Mastery is not becoming one character. It is learning to move between all four on purpose, instead of being unconsciously possessed by whichever one grabbed the wheel first. And now, directly to you. As you listened, one of these four felt closer than the others. One description that landed a little too accurately. That named something you have been living without a word for. That one has been driving you, often without your permission, shaping choices you believed you were making freely. This is the moment Jung would tell you matters most. Not to judge that part of yourself, and not to try to destroy it, but to finally see it. Because you were never only the ruler, or the creator, or the caregiver, or the rebel. You are the one who can learn to choose between them. And the day you can name who is driving is the day you stop being driven. Comment below which archetype was quietly running you: ruler, creator, caregiver, or rebel. Naming it out loud is the first act of taking the wheel back. And if this named something real in you, know that each of these four has a darker form. The tyrant the ruler becomes, the martyr hidden in the caregiver, the destroyer inside the rebel, and the blocked creator who never makes anything at all. In the next video, I want to take you into those shadow forms and how to recognize the moment a healthy archetype crosses the line into the one that ruins a life. I'll see you there.